Hey, what's up, Kyle? Thanks for your video and for exploring creativity because it doesn't get more interesting than that. Um, than creativity, it's rather difficult to understand, which is exactly why um, it is so cherished and so sought after. Um, because we can't really understand it, we can't contain it, which is why it is creative. Um, and you said you didn't want to get into metaphysics and ontology and whatnot, but when talking about creativity, I mean, it's hard to avoid uh, because the essential question about creativity, I think, is its relationship to freedom and freedom's relationship to determinism. Um, are creatures free? Are they creative? Which is what I think the word seems to imply that uh, a creature can create something new which hasn't come about before, which isn't merely a new arrangement of what already existed, but is in fact something added to what had already existed. Um, Creativity, it cannot really be explored fully without getting into metaphysical, uh, getting into metaphysics. And I think the question comes down to whether or not determinism is true. If determinism is true, then creativity is a meaningless term. And I don't really like the comparison between um, mimetic transfer and mimetic evolution and creativity because memes are about imitation and they mutate randomly, accidentally, which leads to or can lead to new memes. They could also lead to complete nonsense. But this to me is not what creativity is. Creativity isn't just uh, newness in the sense of a new um, arrangement. It's more than just new. It's more valuable than what had came before. It's unforeseen, um, impossible to predict. It's beautiful. It's valuable. It's beautiful. It's unpredictable. And these are things that in a deterministic or mechanistic universe would have no meaning. Um, which is why I don't think creativity as a metaphysical category uh, can be said to refer to anything in a mechanistic universe. Um, but of course, these are all metaphysical categories, and if we're going to stick just to psychology, I don't know. It's kind of difficult to talk about creativity because how do you define it? Um, Whitehead defines creativity as that which allows the many to become one. Um, in other words, in the experience of every actual entity, every organism, say, there are many impressions and feelings and um, perturbances that are affecting it, but somehow, out of that diversity of effects, a single unified experience is created. And for Whitehead, that is the definition of creativity. Uh, that the many become one and are increased by one. Um, Another way to think about this is when sentience emerges in an organism, um, the many parts of the organization of this organism become whole, become part of a larger unitary system with a unitary aim, and that unitary aim is greater than the sum of its parts. So the many become one and are increased by one. Um, and that, for Whitehead, is creativity, the creation of an individual sentient center of awareness. Um, it's a unique way to define the term, certainly, but it's at least a definition, which for the word creativity, definitions are hard to come by. Um, but yeah, I just thought I'd throw some thoughts out there and see what you thought of them. No need to jump into this kind of metaphysical speculation if you don't want to, but I really do think it comes down to whether or not we think we live in a predominantly mechanical universe, or whether we think the universe is organic. In other words, is it dead? Is it a machine? Or is it alive? Is it an organism? If it's a machine, if it's dead, I don't think creativity has any meaning. On the other hand, if it's alive, if it's an organism, then of course creativity is the very basis of it. Creativity is, you could say, the first cause. It is the reason for everything. Which, knowing that creativity is the source of all that we know and experience is putting a lot of weight on the shoulders of creativity. And again, unless we can define it adequately, that doesn't help us much. But, I gave you Whitehead's definition, so I guess I'm curious to see your definition of creativity. Other than the obvious definition that you could give, it's novelty or newness. I think, what do you think beyond that? What does creativity really mean? Is it possible in a deterministic, mechanistic universe? So yeah, look forward to your answer, and I know you're busy with graduate school. I know what it's like, so take your time. Be well.